call the meeting to order.
Okay. Lord, look lovingly on this group gathered here. During this meeting, as we discuss and deliberate on issues of importance to this district, help us to be guided by you, by you, Spirit. May we be wise in our discernment, balanced in our judgment, fair in our decision, and visionary in our planning. Though we may at times have differing views, may we listen to one another and be guided by our common goals. May we always be mindful in our words and actions of what is best for all people in our district. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you would silence your cell phones, please. And I'll call the roll. Commissioner Brandhorst was going to call in, but she hasn't called in yet, so we'll wait to hear from her.
Commissioner LeBlanc, present.
Commissioner Gardner present.
Commissioner Gleason, present.
Commissioner Becker present.
All right.
And I think we're getting this, I hear a phone.
It's, oh, he's calling her, so it's not. Hold on one second for Commissioner Brandhurst. No?
Now she called on my cell phone, yeah. I tried to call back, no pick up.
I see.
I gave her her phone now. Yeah, she called back, I think.
All right. We'll
Yeah.
we'll proceed, and if
I'm trying to call the board, but the line's busy.
Line's busy.
Richard, help. The line is busy, Commissioner.
I'll try it again. Maybe somebody else was trying to call at the same time.
No,
It's not even lit up. I mean,
It's
just
not
press
even-
hang up just to see, but
Is that phone number hooked up? Did she call that number?
Do you know what number she is?
484
okay.
73949.
here, Commissioner Brandhurst, talk to Richard.
Okay.
Commissioner, the number is 904 484
484.
7349.
Okay, that's what I dialed. I'll try again.
Okay,
That's a true designation.
you got to do the 904 now.
I know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any citizen participation? Anyone who wants to speak to the board during the meeting? No? I'll call for approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to approve the agenda.
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Gleason, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And I'll call now for approval of the consent agenda.
I just want to pull out the SIT.
Okay, number 3?
Yep.
All right, and that will go to the bottom of the new business.
Mhm.
All right. Without that included, is there an approval called for the,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the modification of moving the consent number 3 down to new business number 3.
okay,
Also, I just got the new minutes. Somebody redlined it after I redlined it. So I don't approve the minutes, so. I don't know,
Okay.
what do we do with that, Amy?
You'll need to vote no.
Because I just saw the red lines onto my
So you can make a motion to remove those from the consent agenda. There is a motion on the table to
Yeah.
approve the consent agenda. So your option is
I
to
just
vote
saw, my first time seeing the revised.
Your option at this point is to vote no on
I
the
removed
minutes.
them.
Vote no on the entire consent agenda.
Okay, so you're voting no on the
Yeah,
consent
that's the first time
agenda?
I've seen these.
Okay. All right, and everyone else?
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, was there a second for the, approving the consent agenda without number 3 included?
That's the motion I made, was
Okay,
with taking out
So I'll
number
second.
3.
you're in a
I'll
second?
second,
Okay. All in favor? All right,
Are we
3 of
removing the
us.
minutes? Are we removing the minutes or not?
No, your vote is no
Mine is
to approve to deny,
Yep.
reject
Okay.
the entire consent agenda.
All right. All right, now to unfinished business. Mr. Weaver?
So,
Yeah, sure.
so we're having
Okay.
issues with Wi-Fi. It's been kicked in and out today, so
Okay,
some of
just
my
use-
colleagues in the room don't
Maybe
have
just put
it.
it kind of.
And that's gonna be on our system,
All right, Commissioner Brandhurst, I'm gonna put you in front of my,
right?
okay. This is Commissioner Gardner, and did you?
Oh, how are you?
I'm good.
I haven't already told you, I got a migraine that's just killing me. I'm laying in a dark room.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. All right,
We need to make a motion to approve Commissioner Brandhurst to join by telephone and not in person.
all right, are you making that motion?
No.
Would anyone else
I'll make
like?
a motion
All right,
to approve Commissioner Brandhorst
calling in.
calling in.
Okay.
Did she read the materials?
Good.
Is she able to read the materials in the dark?
Are you? She said yes. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Now, Mr. Weaver,
right.
it's up to you.
Okay, so this is for the RFP to design and build building 1100 and do drainage work in the northeast corner of the area here. So on March 21st, 2024 at 9 a.m., the AMCD bid was opened. We had a review committee. We used our score sheet and looked at all the different bids. That was myself, Dr. Qualls, our accountant A. McKinney, and then Rick Stockley, and Tomomi, our education specialist. We had 14 different companies receive bid packages. A number of those weren't actually contractors, they were engineers, subcontractors, things like that. 3 companies came to the pre-bid meeting, so we had 3 at the pre-bid, and then we ended up with 2 bids submitted. So the prices and scores, Harrell Construction scored 93.2 with a price of $1,180,744. And then Clayton Company scored 91.8 points with a price of $1,530,210.60. I can go through the cost breakdown if you'd like, but there was a difference there of a few $100,000, so that's the main reason that the committee went with Harrell. Plus, Harrell's done a lot of work here, but they were just basically the low price.
Commissioner, comments and questions?
I just have a few.
Sure, Commissioner Gleason.
Just question, why did we combine the drainage work, which is on this side of the property, with what I thought was going to be sheds for storage on that side of the property? Why did we put that all in one RFP? Because if you look at the cost breakdown by project, one contract is higher than the other one on one, and the other contract is higher than the other one on the other. I'm trying to understand why we combined both projects.
To save time and money. And I can go into an explanation if you'd like.
It's okay. And then I've noticed that on the on both RFPs, we prescribed who they were going to use for civil engineering, even though they have their own
Correct.
civil engineers.
Yes,
Why did we prescribe Matthew as the,
because they've done everything on the whole property and they know where everything is. And they did the original site work for that particular area that's getting the work done. So for us, it would make sense to have the company that is familiar with and has done all the planning on this, rather than have someone come in and not know where any of the pipes are underground, any of the electrical, any of the sewer, or anything like that, so.
didn't Harold do the site plan on that side of the property, if I recall correctly?
Well,
Harold,
both of the companies have listed
Yeah.
that company as the
Yeah.
one that does it anyways.
Yeah, but they said on Harold's bid, it says, we were told we had to use Matthew. The other company didn't refer to it that way, but Harold said, in their proposal, they said, the AMCD directed us to use Matthew.
correct. And they were both given the exact same price from Matthews, so it shouldn't have affected the bid price at all, because.
No, I was
they're-
just wondering why we had to insist on Matthew, that's all.
Because they have done all the planning on the property and they know where all the bodies are buried.
Okay, and then the third and last question I have is, why a 4,000 square foot building when we have right now 3 or 4 sheds? And I took a walk with Dr. Shu, and why wouldn't sheds similar to what we already have, suffice? Why do we have to build a 4,000 square foot building?
Well, we have to put all the cars in.
Well,
Cars, I thought we had already a garage. At least that's what you told me. You didn't tell me it was for cars. We're gonna buy more than 36 cars?
Well, only like 8 trucks could, is it 8 that can fit into
the
the
reason,
one we have now?
the reason we're building a building that size is to be able to put all our equipment and as many vehicles as possible under the roof.
So how many vehicles do we have right now in the garage that we have, existing garage?
I would have to go out and count.
Okay.
About
You told me 36.
7 to 8, yeah.
Well, this morning you told me 36, or yesterday you told me
Yes, on
36.
the car, right.
Okay, I'm done. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Becker.
Is anyone from Harrell or Clayton here today?
Has what?
Is anybody from
No.
either company here today?
No,
Oh.
not that I know of.
Well, for me, one of the big things that stuck out was that it was almost double the amount of days that it would take to get this done. And Harrell was the quicker company and also knows this area pretty well. And I was really confused by the Clayton's chart. They had this organizational chart, and then they had on page 26 the methodology of the project, which they didn't talk about putting in the drain pipe in that for some reason, but they said that their approach mirrors the successful methodology used, like the Department of Labor Miami Center. Does that mean that they're gonna get the people that are gonna do these items from the Miami Center, do you know?
I would have to look.
Or are they just using that as an example? It seemed kinda odd to me. I mean, it's, just so we know if our people are gonna be from Miami or from here.
You say page 27,
26.
26?
I don't think they mean that it's the Department of Labor. I think maybe,
So your question about that is?
are they gonna bring in people from the Department of Labor Miami Job Corp Center to work on the project?
I have no idea.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. For the days, it was, Harold has us at 150 days for the longest thing that it's gonna take, and it looks like it's gonna be done next October, so a year and a half? Or-
Yes. I think, I'd have to look it up, I didn't,
Wait, no, it's not.
let me see, Clayton.
Here, do you wanna just use mine so it's easier to see?
I put that in my notes.
Clayton says it'll take 296 days for the entire thing. And Harold has how many days each thing's gonna take, but not a total number, so I just wanna,
Yeah, I remember looking at the length of time and, let's see, who's this?
and then on Harold's, they have like permitting is gonna take
The
131
committee
days.
scored Clayton at 9.6 for that particular tab, and Harold was scored 8.6. So Harold got a lower score for the completion time because they were going to take longer to complete the project.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 'cause
That's what
they're
I'm
not
reading
getting
here.
out of it.
6.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. I mean,
It's a longer
this is
timeline.
Starting May 24, ending June 25. And then the next one is Harold starts
Speaker sheets? Right over there on the
Right over
table.
there in the corner.
April. Does anybody see?
Division, I have division here,
Yeah, I know, but
one
what
name
Harold?
here, there it is down.
Okay, so Harold will be a little longer. Okay.
Yeah,
So the time is here is scored over.
Okay, so
Oh, I was
Harold
gonna
would
ask you
start
on-
April of this year, and they would complete in October of the year after. So, yes, that would be about a year and a half. And
Do either of them, I mean, when we were putting up the SIT building, we had to wait so long for the metal. Do you know if that has kind of calmed down now, or do we need to
No,
add
there's
that?
still supply
There's
issues.
still, so-
We still haven't gotten the sinks for the SIT building, and that has been on order for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And we've had 2 or 3 suppliers cancel on us, and then we found a supplier a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and they gave us a 4-week delivery time, and in the 3rd week, they called us up and canceled because they had been sold, the company. So it's been issue after issue after issue.
so when do we think is the soonest this will be completed then, according to these timelines? A year?
That
If
timeline
everything
is
came
saying,
up-
as far as Harold's concerned, their end date is October of 25. Right? Yeah, 24, yeah. April 25. We're starting in April,
One more
going
somewhere.
through the end of the year, which takes us into 25, yes. October of 25.
So on Harold's book in section 7, for the schedule, they say that the Harold Construction anticipates 120 days for design, 130 for permitting, 150 for construction. And then Harold Construction Company acknowledges that the contract will have a clause allowing for AMCD to deduct $15,000 a month from the contract total if completion exceeds the calendar months from the date of commencement. And the contract will also allow AMCD to add $5,000 a month to the total contract for early completion. I didn't see anything like that in Clayton's book.
Are you speaking of the current contract for the SIT building?
No,
Go back on the RFP.
on the RFP,
Mm-hmm.
on Harold's section 7.
Is that under miscellaneous?
No, section 7 schedule,
Oh,
first
okay.
page.
Okay, yeah, that is the statement that is in the current contract, and I guess they assumed we were gonna put it in the new contract. We haven't negotiated a contract yet,
Okay.
so damage clauses would be negotiated in the contract phase.
So,
But they have already said that they would agree to this contract,
yeah,
this particular,
do you think, has Clayton said that they would agree? Or they don't have to tell us yet?
don't know that they did. I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything either,
No.
that's what, I just didn't know if anybody else saw it, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Clayton
Okay,
does have
okay.
closeout in June of '25.
Are there any more questions, Commissioner?
So yeah,
O'Brien?
about 6 months
Do you have
longer for Harold,
I bet they added extra time just in case it took forever
for
to
the
get
clause.
things in, they usually think about that, okay.
Commissioner Brandhurst, do you have any questions about the bids?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
Does anyone else?
Commissioner LeBlanc said no.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for the board to approve the acceptance of having Harold Construction build the building, or award them the contract for the RFP to build out the garage and parking center and fix the drainage pipe issue. I'll second it.
Okay, before we do that, I just got to note that former Commissioner Mueller would like to speak on the storage building, so former
Do I need
Commissioner.
to remove the motion?
Can we just put it on hold?
If there's no objection, yeah, or you
No
can withdraw it.
objection.
till after
Okay,
comments.
yeah, I'd like to hear what she has to say.
I promised myself when I left here in December of '22 that I wasn't going to come back as an old commissioner with my opinions. However, the cost of this storage shed is very high. I just negotiated a double-car garage with a 4-inch concrete base and a lean-to with water and electric for the Homeless Coalition. It took us 3 months to get it and have it up for a total cost of $37,000. If you need storage sheds, go to Uzina's and buy one of those. For $1 million for a storage shed, so it can be beautiful, is absolutely ridiculous with taxpayers' money.
Thank you, Commissioner Mueller.
Thank you.
Mr. Weaver, would you like to address that?
I don't think it's my place.
Yeah, we should add the construction guys here.
Yeah, should we perhaps table this until?
I think, my opinion is the most important part of this project is the drainage.
Mhm, I
Everything
agree.
else is a luxury and
Right.
not with taxpayer dollars.
Well, we are having issues with drainage, and I know this is part of solving that problem. Is that correct?
But it's not, it doesn't have to be done with that project.
I can't explain the project, what's in it. A lot of it is drainage. We have flooding from the property to the east and the property to the north. The whole floodplain moves across the property this way, and it builds up in this corner. And so we get a lot of flooding, the playground floods, we've had the building flood. We've never had it happen before, but we had the dormitory flood. I do know that Compass did get the grading wrong in the garden area. There is no way as a manager of the project to know that, but afterwards, when I had the engineering company come in and check on them, I found out that they had set the levels incorrectly, so again, compass strikes. So a lot of the money is being spent over here trying to get rid of the flooding problems. We have a little bit of high water over by the fence down by the chickens. We have some high water behind building 500. We have high water where the larvicide pools are. And then the building over here, yes, a pole barn, just a regular pole barn on dirt would be very inexpensive, but it would be a pole barn on dirt. We always did want to imagine having concrete there because when you have vehicles, you want them on concrete. You don't want them on dirt. If you have an oil leak or transmission leak, then it goes into the environment. We don't want that. When we decided, the director and everyone else around here, that we needed a storage shed, we do have a lot of equipment out in the weather. We don't have enough roof to keep all the equipment dry. We left the doors off to save money. We also put some storerooms on the sides. Again, that is to reduce the old sheds that we have and put everything under one roof. So that's the basic outline of what the project's for. It's there to keep our equipment safe, dry, out of the sun. All our trailers, we have to move them every time we mow because they're, on the grass. They're rotting away. We're gonna need to buy new trailers. I was talking with one of the technicians and his foot went through the metal grating on one of our trailers because it's rusty.
Did he get hurt?
No, he did not get injured. But, there are,
Other considerations.
but again, this is a board decision, not my decision. I just put out the RFP and I went by the specifications that I was told to use along with my input, so that's just where we're at, so.
So just from my just repeat what I said. I think the drainage work needs to happen. It needs to, we can't have that flooding. I just don't think we, 600, on the Herald bid is $656,000 for what we were told was a storage shed and now has turned into a garage parking facility. This is taxpayer money. If it was up to me, I would separate two bids and get them to bid on the drainage work separately from whatever we want to build over there, which at this point, I don't even know what it is because the story, and it's not your fault, I was told storage shed, now it's a full parking garage, pretty big. And then this morning, yesterday, I can't even remember what day, it was to make them look pretty. And that's not what taxpayers are paying for. Pretty is not in the scope of work.
I think pretty's probably the wrong word to be used. It is now in line with all the other buildings, so it's a metal building that matches all the other buildings, but I don't know the correct word. Again, I don't know who you're quoting, it doesn't matter, it just, it was made to be matched to the other buildings.
Okay.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead, Commissioner LeBlanc.
The two projects being put together, I imagine the two were put together because that saves money,
Yes.
rather than separating it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
but
Well, then you
On
have
that.
to get more permits again and more.
Right.
Yeah, but one contractor is higher on the drainage and the other one is lower on the building. So, we save money overall, but Harold is $112,000 more expensive on the drainage work and $400,000 less expensive on the building. And I'm still trying to figure out
I can tell you
how
why
that can
I can-
possibly be.
I can give you my theory on that. I don't know. I wasn't in the room. I wouldn't know what they're bidding. Their estimators could be looking at different things, but Harold put the stuff in the ground over here. They know what's in the ground. They know everything. So that might be why they went higher. The other company may not understand what's in the ground. I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just telling you that
They have a better
that
understanding.
Harold did
of
put
it.
the stuff in the ground. And as far as the building goes, we asked for a Varco Prudent. We would accept another one, but we preferred Varco Prudent because we didn't end up with a Varco Prudent with the education center and it leaks. So we asked for that, and they are the distributor for Varco Pruden. So they would be selling and installing for Clayton if they used a Varco Pruden. So Harold probably has a good, inside cost that's less than what Clayton would pay. So
Thanks for that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. We have a public comment from Gary Howell regarding the storage.
I heard one of the commissioners address two separate bids. Number one, I think anytime that you start to develop any kind of land or do any kind of project, drainage is key. I own some property myself and have a structure, and every time that it falls, a good sizable rain, it's subject to get wet floor. So, sounds like to me, $1 million is a lot of money for over $1 million. I don't quite have the figures, but I would address the drainage first, and then I would come back and look at what, if you're gonna call it a shed, a garage, whatever you're gonna call it. Also, would take a look at what types of equipment that's outside now that's so sensitive that we need to build a $650,000 structure to put it underneath, and how we made it this far, this long. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we have a motion and a second, right? Didn't we, is that where we left it?
Oh, can I make another motion?
I'm not sure.
I noted that there was a motion to award the RFP to Harold. I don't know that I heard a second.
I didn't hear a second.
I
Without
actually did
LeBlanc.
second. I seconded.
Yeah, I think.
But now, is the board wanting to have the Carol and Clayton come and speak and address some more questions, or are we?
That's one thing, and then the other thing, I really think the most important piece of the work that needs to be done is the drainage. And we need to understand, I honestly don't fully understand how we went from shed to where we are now.
The real scope
And the
of work
scope of
is-
work, so either we table it or we say we are ready to, are they willing to take us just approving the drainage as is, or do they want us to rebid it?
I think it'd have to
I
be
guess
rebid.
Well,
it
it'd
would
have
have
to
to
be a whole new
okay.
RFP, I think.
So,
I doubt that that's something you can do, because
Okay.
if they were just
yeah,
bidding on drainage, it would have been a different deal.
Right.
Right.
So I would say, no, you'd have to throw it out, start over.
We have another public comment, I believe, from David Johnson. Yes?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I live in Ponte Vedra Beach, and I have a lot of friends, coworkers, and there is so much being discussed right now about this organization because of that museum and the money that's being spent on it. And it's not positive, what I'm hearing from people that I know that come from all walks of life. So I would just like to urge the board to really take this expense into consideration, because it seems like the budget is being treated as a piggy bank that this board is going into to create construction projects. And I think you need to be careful about that and how the public perceives this organization and how the money is being spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So,
So do we table this,
yeah.
Rudy, or do you have
Should
any
we table?
comments, or?
Yeah, what do you recommend? Should we ask for another RFP that divides the scope of work?
It's a board decision. My recommendation, table, and need more time, and thank you, everybody input is running, and we back to planning committee meeting again, and we have a planning meeting last December, talking about something everybody different, some suggestions,
Sure.
had some, yeah. We bring back, yeah. Because the tax money is not only their money, our money too.
Sure.
We just do what's best for taxpayer, but what's best for the district.
Right.
You
Okay.
don't want to put like because of $200,000 bill that's a shame. Some is kind of poor one. Somebody says, oh, it's not ugly, that doesn't match other building. You have to international visitor come here and see, you have this kind of poor bar. It's all the different idea.
Sure. Commissioner Becker, do you want to withdraw your motion to approve?
Well, what does the board think?
I think we should table it till we have a better idea
Yeah,
of what we're
just
spending our
the
money
table
on.
and,
Yeah.
So do we need to bring in visuals to help everyone understand what it is?
Well, I think from the sound of it, it sounds like the board wants to address more questions to Harold and Clayton. So
Okay, so I'll
that's what it
withdraw my
sounds like.
motion as long as next time we ask that the representatives come so we can ask them more
Yes.
questions.
Can I know we say we save money, but I'm still having problems with that building. Can I make a motion that they come back, but we separate those RFPs? I know everybody thinks we're saving money, but if we're building $656,000, I just don't see that as being good use of taxpayer dollars. I mean,
I think we should hear from both of the contractors and see what they have
Okay.
to say about it.
We need to do that before.
I mean, if it would save us money, if we need to do it and it would save us money to do it both at the same time, it makes sense to do that. But we don't know that at this point, so.
I will table it. I mean, I'm in favor of tabling it, but I am not in favor of putting in a $600,000 building.
We'll take it step by step, but I think that's the logical thing.
Okay, so we'll table it.
Okay.
All right.
Do we need to make a motion or anything like that to table it, or? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I
So I will
motion,
make a.
okay, you could, go ahead. You already started it.
I
Made the motion.
No, she made, did you make the motion? to
I
table?
made a motion to table.
It's
Did
fine.
you make a motion?
Second.
Yeah, I made the motion to remove it from the agenda and table it to the next
Okay.
meeting. Okay.
All in favor?
Approved.
Unanimous, okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is talking about the museum, and this is a subject that I would like to talk about. I'd like to see us drop the word museum because, in my opinion, it's an education center, not a museum, and it's, I don't know if you have seen it, Mr. Johnson, but it's quite impressive, and I think it's something that serves the community well, so. I think dropping the name museum is a big step in the right direction. I think using museum as the label is inviting, how can I put this? I think it's creating a false pretense. Yeah, it's not the image we want to portray. We want to portray an education center that benefits the community. So I would like to open it up for discussion, see what everyone else says.
I understand us wanting to remove the name museum because it's put a bullseye on our back. But I just want to, I don't know if everybody read all the background information that Dr. Hsu put on this. But this museum initially was supposed to cost $1.5 million. The last estimates I've seen is $4.5 million that we spent. There are questions more important than just the word museum that need to be addressed, that if you look at page 2, behind the second page, Mr. Hanna had raised the issue about if you were going to take donations, we have to be able to account for that. We might have to consider a 501c3, and that we were not in a position to do that. I have followed up with Mr. Flowers, and I think Amy has as well, and he said he would have been willing to set us up as a 501c3, which would have enabled us to get more grants other than just government grants. I have not seen one note, one resolution, one comment, one letter that says we have addressed Mr. Scott Hanna's comments about the accounting, nor Mr. Flowers' comment that says, Mr. Flowers stated that there are legal issues that do need to be looked at concerning this project, including the existing zoning, the nonprofit status, as well as other legal issues. I have nothing, I cannot find any records that says that we have addressed those concerns that Mr. Flowers raised. So that's one. So we're talking about removing a name, and I think we have other issues to address.
Could I speak to that
So-
for a second?
Absolutely.
That was a comment that I made to see if the board would allow me and Richard to go to different businesses to get donations. That's what that donation was, and we decided not to do that.
Okay, yeah, but Mr. Flowers' comments still say that there's more legal issues that need to be resolved, and I agree with him. I don't know, like, right now, we're
Well,
selling
that was
stuff.
6 years ago. I'm sure we've,
I know that I've been asking for the last 6 months. Where is the documentation that says we've resolved all those legal issues? Because if you're gonna have a retail store, you have to have some way of collecting that sales and reporting it. You cannot commingle donations with revenues. You have to show them separately. So I'm
we're
trying,
not taking any donations.
according to our statements, yeah, we're already taking money.
We're not taking donations.
I was there yesterday, there were donations in the box.
For what?
I don't know, but there was a donation box there and there was money in it. So we're taking donations unless somebody, it says donation box and there's donations dollars in it. So we've opened that up and we're taking money in. We have revenues showing up. Scott, I don't know if that's sales or donations.
Mr. Hannah, would you like to address that?
Scott Hanna, Anastasia Mosquito Control District CFO. As a governmental entity, we can take donations. We don't have to be a 501c3. The 501c3 is more a taxing type of, denotes more like a taxing type of entity. Nothing leads me to believe we could even oversee a 501c3. That is more of a legal.
Yeah, Mr. Flowers says we could, yeah.
He said we could?
Yes.
Okay, and that's,
And he has set them up for other entities like us.
but has a governmental entity oversaw the 501c3? That's
No, you
where-
have to have a whole different staff.
Okay, that's where I'm not sure we're allowed to do that. So we would have a separate entity, and then we'd have, who would be in charge of it? How would we?
Well, that's in the details of planning that we would have done
Yeah,
initially.
but the accounting, and those are two separate things. For accounting, we can actually have retail sales. It's just, if you need to do it as a separate division, it's only if there's a certain threshold. I think it's like 15, 20% of your revenues. If that museum is making up 15, 20%, then we'd have to have separate accounting in a separate fund.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying if you're taking donations, which when I went through with Rudy yesterday, there was a donation box and there was money in it. You cannot commingle that with regular revenue. You have to show it separately, even if it's a line item in our own statement that says donations.
We do. DAX has a category for it. It's grants and donations. It's one of the DAX categories, and we do utilize it. So we have had things donated. We've had actually some assets donated from different governmental entities, and we do put them in the grants. It hasn't anything been recently.
No, I was just looking at the financial statements you gave us for this month, and it says sales or revenues from the museum or DAX,
Yeah.
or whatever we call it. So I don't know if that's
Those-
donation
No,
dollars?
not at
or-
all. Those revenues are actually, and I've got the book where we're making all the deposits and we're we've actually got the sales and use tax set up because that's a felony if you don't pay sales and use tax in the state of Florida. So we actually have the sales and use tax set up. Their revenues, we're separating the debit from the credit and the cash. It's concession sales. It's sodas, I think a little bit of honey and some other items. Jency and Richard would be able
Are
to.
we collecting the resale certificates from the vendors
Oh,
that
yeah,
are selling to us?
We're actually, yes, you mean the exemptions, the sales tax, sales and
No,
use?
the resale certificate that they get from the state, so that they're not taxed, that they don't have to pay tax.
So far, we're using Coca-Cola, and to my knowledge, I believe we've got a sales and use tax license from them. Is it Coca-Cola? As far as the new vendor that's doing the honey, I'm sure we can get that right away. We're just there's a lot of moving parts. So the first thing was get the sales and use tax set up, get the accounting and the money to the bank and the change. So it's
I saw 3 vendors there. There's the lady that sells the little, and I actually personally know her. So she hasn't given you a resale tax because I asked her. She says she hasn't given it to you yet.
okay. That's something we'll look into. That's an oversight, but we will get it taken care of. Basically, I blinked my eyes. Next thing you know, we're making sales. I didn't think it would move that fast. But every sale has been accounted for, logged in. It's been keyed into the accounting system. We have a regular system now where between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday goes to the bank, gets changed. So everything is being orchestrated correctly. As far as the sales tax certificate, we'll make sure that, and it always helps when you bring up things like that. That's something we'll make sure that we do keep up with, because there's a lot of moving parts. But if you'd like to say something, Mr. Weaver, go right ahead.
Well, I just want to say that we've been talking about this with our auditor and with lawyers and with staff for 3 years. We've done all the things we've had to do. We went to the state of Florida. We got the permission to do the taxing, to collect sales tax. I don't understand where the issue is. We can certainly sell anything we want. We can purchase stuff for resale. If you look at other...
Richard, I agree with you. I'm just saying that this was put in here.
Districts like the airport authority, they build hangars, they rent hangars, they build buildings, they rent houses.
I agree. I'm not arguing. I'm saying something was put in this board book, but the resolution to that wasn't. So the question that Mr. Flowers raised was put in there, but the resolution was never included either.
We don't need to be whatever the C-103.
Why put this
As I
Okay,
did,
I'm not gonna argue anymore.
we've been taking donations since we started building. We have gotten drones, we've gotten big giant mosquitoes, we've gotten literature, we've gotten photographs, we've gotten artwork. We have a lot of things donated to us, and it is 100% legal that people can donate to a government agency.
It's not what I'm asking, but okay.
Well,
I'm not saying that that's illegal. I'm saying, how are we accounting for it? That's what I asked Scott. I didn't say that it was illegal to donate to us, because Amy already had clarified that on a note to us. I asked, how are we accounting for it in our financials? Because that's an asset.
Right.
That's an asset.
You're talking about for the grant money that's in the box right now, or past?
For anything that's
donations.
donated to the museum, where is that money being accounted? Or let's say not money, let's say, I think Dr. Shu showed me the box with the stuff that I really didn't want to look at because they scared me.
The bugs.
The bugs, but he said that's worth like 50,000, I forget how much.
They put that report,
Yeah.
it's in here somewhere.
No, from an accounting perspective, how are you accounting for it in the assets?
It's right here.
That's not what I'm asking. There's an asset category, how are you accounting for that?
Actually, we do account for it at zero basis, because no matter what the market value is, we account for everything at cost. And I know what you're talking about. There's a thing where you bring something in and then you subtract it out. It's called like kind. And we always format that at the year end. It's either in the disclosures or it's in the final financial government wide. But what you're talking about is,
If that building burns down.
so for accounting, okay, the market value, if it's 50,000, we don't say we have a $50,000 asset. We say we have a $0 asset. If we sell it for 20,000, we have a capital gain of 20,000. So there's no,
Okay, so
If
I'm gonna
it's
ask, I'm gonna
free,
ask
there's-
the question this way. I forget
Okay.
the number you gave me, so I'm
because
gonna,
you're talking accounting,
I forget the number you gave me. You said we probably have about $5 million, $7 million in donations and things that
that's
people.
market value. that
Okay,
you're
market
talking about.
value. So
Yep.
when we took those donations and how do we show it in the accounting? Because if that building burns down, it's not just the physical building that we're losing.
Now you're talking insurance. You're mixing accounting with insurance. Now we got
Well,
insurance. as the
you
next-
have to start with accounting. How
Yes,
much
we
is it
do.
worth?
Okay. And that's the market value. So when we sell something or it burns, then market value comes into place. When we're accounting for it, it's zero basis. We put it in our books in Asset Keeper, and I can show you, we have Asset Keeper, we'll have the asset listed as $0.
Okay.
It has no, but it is tracked in there. So when we get rid of it.
Would it be under the number 390 grants? Is that where you're putting it in?
Grants, that's grants revenues.
That's grant revenue.
You're talking about grant assets.
Assets.
They appear at the end of the year in the total amount of the government-wide asset balance sheet section of the accounting. But as the year end, we make all the adjustments to Asset Keeper. We can have a meeting like next week, and I'll show you Asset
Yeah,
Keeper, and I'll show you all the assets. We got, I think, some kind of weather measuring devices. That's the thing that comes to mind. Maybe we got 5 of those weather stations or something. We have them in Asset Keeper with $0. If we sell those, or Richard thinks they're obsolete, and we salvage them, surplus them, and we get $100 a piece, then they're actually considered a gain in the revenue section of the account of the financial statements. Everything's accounted for, and the auditor goes through this with me. We make all the adjustments. Everything's done. It's all compliant.
Yeah, Chairperson, yeah. That's an item next
didn't
next
take
meeting,
us this
specific,
far.
last time you discussed, included, should the sale tickets or not, our CPA coming here,
Right,
annual auditor report, and include this item, specific item.
okay,
Next, near the last time you discussed
all right,
about board make a decision, should we sell tickets or not? The tax people pay for already.
okay.
What can we do? Which way we should go about need to give direction? Place the CPA coming here in May meeting.
He's talking that we were going to meet with Julianne Klein.
Yeah.
She's going to present the audit report, the April meeting, and we're going to schedule preferably actually the May meeting, I'm sorry. We're tax season's ending now. In the May meeting before that, preferably, we're going to meet with her and talk about the museum. We have different revenue and expense. In fact, probably got this. This is the start of it. The revenue and expense categories for the museum items. But whether it needs to be a separate fund and accounted for as a separate fund, it has to make up a certain percentage of the revenues. And right now, it's so small that it is accounted for, and we can separate it in a report. But whether it needs to be its own separate fund and accounting system, I think it has to meet a certain revenue threshold of total revenues.
We told the county commissioners in the letter, there's a letter in here
Okay.
under the museum change, that museum was going to be funded through workshops. How are we going to track that if we're not putting them separately?
We do have the workshop revenues done separately. Like I can we're going to meet with the auditor, right? Because she's got a lot of experience with this. I have some. Between the two of us, we'll come up with something that's compliant. She'll be meeting, we're hoping right before the May meeting, and then she'll do
It
the
should
audit
be just
report.
as simple as treating it as a separate business unit.
We talked about that, and because in the brief discussion we had, it's such a small revenue base that as long as we can account for or segregate the expenditures and produce a separate report, it's fine for now, but we
Yeah,
won't.
but the expenditures are not going to be small. That's, you keep saying revenue,
Well,
but.
no, actually, right now, we've got this is the start of it. We did 1 month, March, and we put it on the table. This is all the activity for 1 month. As far as expenditures, and I'm talking operating expenses, things that are like current for 1 month are right here. You've got the DVEC 701, you have this paper. This is just us getting a foothold.
Yeah, I know.
And then you got capital outlay, which is down here. So every month, or I could actually even back it up because there'll probably be some other numbers from past months that's smaller. But as it goes on, you'll see these miscellaneous supplies and the DVEC expenditures will get bigger. Capital outlay should hopefully fade away altogether, so you won't even see this bottom part as we get the thing finished off.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna.
Sure.
Go back to your question.
Thank you.
Ms. Does anyone else have comments?
No, so
Okay.
we're getting back to the, whether or not to remove the museum.
Well, we have some speakers who want to come up and talk.
More speakers.
Former Commissioner Moeller, would you please come up?
And just once again, I am breaking my own promise to myself. But it may be of some benefit for the board because 4 of you were here when I left in December. When this blew up in the newspaper on a Sunday afternoon, because it was called a museum, I was the chair. And I was the person who had to talk to the county administrator, the angry people at the Tag Museum, the chair of the county commission, the St. Augustine Record, the Ponte Vedra Recorder, and many, 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 many people in the public. And we all said that we were not building a museum, that the word museum came because one of our education specialists went to China and went through a museum and gave a report that we were building an education center, and the reason we were building it was because at one point we were in 19 different schools during the school year educating students from kindergarten to high school on mosquito biology at Sunshine Standards. The Tag Museum people couldn't understand how we could be building a museum when they were even having problems finding money out of the federal government to build their children's museum. They asked us, if Dr. Hsu remembers correctly, to please coordinate with them when they got the thing built and to have a small room or a wall about mosquito control, and would we please coordinate with them, with their staff, for their events and training classes, and they would do the same thing for us. I have no idea where we are with that. 80 to 100,000 children come through St. Johns County every year in February and March because of Black History Month and the Civil Rights Museums. That's why we built an education center. It was never supposed to be a museum. I signed the contract even though I voted against the museum because it was my job as the chair. And this whole thing has gotten totally out of line. It's absolutely ballooned into a media presentation. And guess what? I don't do a whole lot of technology. But in 2 years, all that technology that we have in this building, which I just heard still floods, you're going to have to do it all over again. We have no idea what this expense is even going to be with all that technology we have in there. It's a beautiful building. There's probably $7 million worth of assets in that building, over and above what we paid for it. But I'm telling you, I have people calling me. They're ready to go to the state legislature and say, take the damn AMCD mosquito control district over and let the county run it. Is that what you want? Really? I had 24 calls this week on this museum, and I'm no longer a commissioner. But you made a liar out of me when I go to those places and say it's not a museum, and I have to tell you, I don't like it. You need to stop and think about this, and you need to change it. But you know what? You already have a bullseye. just because you put it on there. And if you think changing the name, and it needs to be changed, is going to take the bullseye off your back, you are badly mistaken, because it's out there and the general public doesn't like it. But you all have a good night.
Hold on, I have a question. Mrs. Mueller? Okay, you were one of the biggest supporters for the education center, so I just want to.
That's not true. I voted against doing it. Yes, I was ready for an education center. I was not ready for what we have. It was way too expensive. You all went with the lowest bidder, and you can stand there and argue with me, but it was an education center. It was never a museum.
The education center name is fine. So I just wanted to clarify, though, the actual product, whether it's called a center, museum, whatever, you were supporting that. You voted for that.
No, ma'am, I did not. Go back and read the minutes. Commissioner Brandhurst and I voted against it, and it went down 3-2.
They did. I read the minutes. I've been
I
reading all the
did
minutes.
not vote for it.
She's right.
And you know what? The nightmares I have about it, just like PQH, way back early on, and I stopped that project because they lied to me. The only regret I have in this 16 years, or the biggest one, is not stopping this project when I could have. Because you still have a mess. Now you've got $7 million worth of equipment over there, and you still have flooding. And before that, you had a leak in the roof or a leak in the floor. It was poor workmanship to start with because you all went with the lowest bidder. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Muller.
Oh, Ms. Mueller, yes. You were here for when we ended the contract with Compass.
$65,000 we ended. I was not here when you
And-
ended the rest of the
I've been-
contract.
I've been trying to get to an answer on this for weeks now, and I can't get one. Do you remember this board ever giving authority to the district to go ahead and finish the project with no board oversight in terms of bringing quotes, RFPs, what estimates back to the board?
No,
Do you recall
but
that?
when I was here, we were still dealing with Compass, except for the $65 million, the $65,000 that we released them from doing the media and the artwork. But I wasn't here when the whole contract was null and void. So no, we did not do that. However, in the past, if it was in the budget, it could be approved. But then I don't know how we managed, because I kept asking about the budget. And when I left here in December of '22, my understanding from Richard was that we were still several $100,000 within the budget, but they would be going over it, but that should have come back to the board, and whether it did or not, I have no idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Muller. Mr. Howell?
Well, I didn't promise like Ms. Mueller not to come back. So I'm back.
Welcome.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I left in the year 2020. And I voted for a project. And I don't want to say this particular project. And I also went to China and visited different museums and things like that. And I think it was 2019. What I have always hung my hat on is that the reason I wanted this facility, and this may be a little greedy here, but I have grandchildren, and now I have great-grandchildren. So, if you go to schools and you ask students, and I've done this, what do you know about mosquitoes? And Trish Becker, she knows, she's been to schools, and introduced some of the students. We wanted an educational facility. So that I wanted to be the commissioner, really excited about this, go to the school board and say, listen, we have a facility out here that we need to educate our children. Let them come to this facility, because what we want to do is to teach them about the past, the present, and the future, what we're going to do in the future. And they need to know about mosquitoes. They need to know about diseases. But if you ask most of the general population of students in schools, they absolutely know nothing about mosquitoes except they bite you. So, with that concept, I voted on this facility. And my head almost hit the table a while ago when I heard $4 million. That was unheard of in 2020. So, yes, I voted for it and was proud that we're going to have some facility like that. But the idea, I just explained to you what the idea and the concept was, okay? Now, there was an education, and Commissioner Mueller speaks the truth, at least when she's here. I don't know about anywhere else, but she and I are good friends. We had a educational person that was like Moses. You've heard that, Phil. He stuck his rod down and all the water turned to blood. Well, that guy stuck his rod in the water on the radio station and said museum, and it spread like fire. And that's exactly how it happened. I forgot exactly who interviewed him. Jeannie, you remember? He was on a radio station and he rattled off. He didn't really know what he didn't give correct information, let me say it like that. I listened to it. I come back and I was about tearing my hair out. But anyhow, I strongly encourage you as a taxpayer now. I'm on this side of the podium and probably won't never be on that side again. But anyhow, to take that museum stigma off of it, because it really doesn't belong there. It didn't start out with the intention of that. We planted the seeds correctly, but we planted the wrong seeds. It turned into a big pumpkin instead of a nice fruit tree. So I encourage that. You're on the right track. The board's doing a good job. Some of you dig a little deeper, I see already, which is a good thing. I like people that dig into stuff and have the correct information. So we always have internal problems, and some of them are commissioners, some of them are employees, and however we get to where we're at, the bottom line is we just need to correct it and move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, okay.
Mr. Johnson, you get the final say.
I just want to address something that the director said earlier about the shed and
Yeah.
postponing it. You mentioned you have international visitors.
Yes.
And I'm not familiar with this board, and I understand the mosquito control district, and I think like what most people think is this is an organization that controls mosquitoes in St. Johns County to improve our quality of life. And then there's obviously a science aspect to it. But I think that most people would agree that this isn't here to impress international visitors with the way a building's built or how it's presented to the public when it includes taxpayers' dollars to do that. And I just wanted to address
Yes,
that.
you want me to give you answer? So, Chair, yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Well, no, I don't want it to be an eyesore.
No, actually, I can give answer.
What I'm saying is, it's not
It's not our
about impressing people that are coming here, and especially if that makes it more expensive to build a shed to put trucks under. It's just about having functionality. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Keep talking, County. Yeah, we are, Xinjiang County is the top in the world, one of the top 10 tourist area. Our Xinjiang County revenue, 74 to 76% is on business in related with industry. So that's we purpose not only bring more new technology through workshop, international visitor, they bring their idea, they bring their labor, they bring their grant money here, also bring lots of business. I learned from the Senator, former Governor Scott Rick, he told me very clear, if you can bring one more visitor to Florida, spend at least $600. So he asked me, how many you brought? I said, brought international meeting here, group meeting, national meeting here, Florida state meeting here. So they bring lots of business here. I just feel you tax people. We should create more job opportunity, give people back. The people have, why you tax people? That's the reason last year, few years since we moved here, under Commissioner Moore leadership and Commissioner Gary House here. So obviously we have opened our mind. So we collect lots of ideas, bring lots of business here. So that's the very, very beneficial our district. When we build it, that's we double our merit rate. The annual our merit rate is going to down. Currently about $18 per person pay for whole year mosquito control. We get a very excellent service. 19 year no and human case. You heard of the malaria last year outbreak. We are tourist area, very dangerous. People can bring money here, good thing, bring passenger here. We have before have a Zika import case. We have dengue fever, we have malaria import case. So this is we have to be very careful, bring more business, increase more mosquito control. Knew what's going on, we can help people. Then you can feel the taxes people comfortable. You are taxpayer appreciate, I taxpayer too. So that's the reason our Medicaid rate, our current lowest in the state, special district, yeah.
But it just sounds like you're trying to make the mosquito control district into something that it isn't. I mean, that's the Tourism Development Council and organizations like that are the ones that are supposed to be bringing businesses here, and private businesses are supposed to be bringing businesses.
Yes, together, yeah, we are part of it.
Well, if it creates this budget requirement to do what you're talking about, then it just seems like, and I'm just a normal person who's interested in local government, it seems like you're getting outside of the scope of what the mosquito control district is supposed to do. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we brought it.
Well, I can tell you, under our statute, we need to educate not only ourselves as commissioners and our staff, but the public.
The
So
public being
this is-
citizens of St. Johns County, that's how it's defined.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. So that's
That's number one.
not to, we're not
No,
going to take
okay.
precedent.
No,
All right.
I think that I've said enough.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
No,
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, make a motion, please.
Okay,
I would like to make a motion.
Yes.
Can I say one thing before, because Ms. Mueller, she said, don't make a liar out of her, okay? In the letter that you presented to the Board of County Commissioners on April 12, 2021, that letter that Mr. Wayne Flowers helped you draft, second page, third paragraph, the facility was not and is not planned or designed to be a tourist attraction. I went into the education center yesterday, I think, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but the majority, in the days that people have been attending, I was told most of those people were tourists, not residents. Now, if we're going to be true to our word, we better figure out, it's built, how do we do an outreach to residents and not turn that into a tourist attraction? because let's not go back on
Okay,
what we said.
thank you. Commissioner LeBlanc?
Can I clarify?
Yes.
So I don't know if, I wasn't there to hear this. I think though, we've had so many St. Johns County school systems already come through our education center. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of outreach and education, per our purview with, targeting St. Johns County residents, that's been the majority of the people coming through. Now, as far as individuals that show up, possibly because of spring break tying into the time that we've opened it, but I know that we've also had
400 people that came to our conference that were
right,
not-
but we've also had a lot of St. Johns County
I don't know.
residents come in.
No, I was just talking, you were talking this weekend,
Okay.
or this, the last.
Wait, you have to come to the podium. Can you introduce yourself in case somebody doesn't know who you are?
Hi, I'm Jency Monson. I'm the new Education Center Coordinator. So what I had mentioned was we're also noticing a lot of people coming in from other counties as well, visiting residents here. So I had like a few people even from out of state that were visiting their grandparents that were here. They brought them as well. So what I meant was we're getting the word spread to like general public.
And I think I made recommendations to you that we just need to start keeping counts of
Yes.
residents and not residents. I even made a
Yes.
suggestion, an idea,
Okay.
which was talking to the other districts. I-95 is the main corridor. I'm sure people go to other counties. They all have districts. It would be nice that we become the welcome center if we're going to have this thing now
Let's
for
use it.
mosquito control. But anyway, beyond that, this cannot be, let's not take back what we said we were going to be, which is an education center and not a tourist attraction. And I'm telling you, everybody's calling it a museum, not us. People that go in, they call it a museum.
And one of my main concerns and one thing I want to reach out and do is doing this outreach. And I'm already drawing up drafts on presentations we can do with the public. You mentioned going to libraries. That'd be an excellent way to do outreach. So definitely on the board to
Okay.
doing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner LeBlanc?
All right, I'd like to make a motion then to remove the word museum and change it to Disease Vector Education Center.
I'll second that. All in favor? Commissioner?
Aye.
Commissioner Brandhurst, you voted
Said I?
Yes.
Said I? I'm a no, and I want to explain why. I need to know when this building, what's the final number going to be? I still,
okay.
okay, so until I see that, it doesn't matter whether we change the name or not, because it's,
Commissioner Becker, your vote?
Opposed.
Opposed, okay. So 3 in favor, 2 opposed. I believe that passes, right?
It's a majority.
All right. Mr. Hannah?
Good evening. Anastasia Mosquito Control District CFO, Scott Hanna. The first thing I have is the quarterly budget update. And because a lot of it's repetitive and predictable, I don't know if you want me to just field some questions on it or go through it line by line. I'm sure, yes,
can we
ma'am.
do the exception, like the stuff that's the outliers?
I'm sorry?
By exception, the outliers first?
Sure, that's pretty much what I presented in the narrative, was just the
Well,
things.
you have it at the main category, so I'm like on 392.
Okay,
I'm seeing 36,000 overspend in other. What's other?
392. You're talking about miscellaneous, 111.8%?
Yeah, but you have 392, but it says
That's actually revenue, so we brought in excess revenue
from,
above budget. And it's 14,582. So it's 11.8% above the budget.
But it says 36,247.
You know what? Let me see. I see, you mean,
I'm looking at this, maybe I'm looking.
oh, you're looking at, okay.
Yeah, this is the one that I like,
Okay, oh, that's,
sorry.
okay, that's actually the local fund. That's not the quarterly budget. And that, where the heck is my copy?
It says line 392, line 392.
That's basically just the financial statements.
So what does line 392 on this report line up to? Is it,
Actually, I'm trying to locate my copy. Hang on a second.
because I'm taking this, line
392
392. I'm comparing it to 392, miscellaneous.
Or that's how you have it in your ledger?
Hang on a second. Okay, you got treasurer's report.
Because October through February on this report, it says 100 and,
Maybe I need somebody's copy of their board books. I think
the numbers
mine's,
don't tie.
is yours at the back of?
Scott, I can give
You
you.
want to use mine?
Yeah, sure, that'd be great, thanks. Yeah, I don't want my side, I apologize.
Come here, yeah.
Oh, he has the totals, and I have the breakout. I'm looking at the breakout, and you have it as a line total on this report here.
Okay, so this goes through February, because we have 30 days to close out a month. So that's why it's not through the end of March. Okay, so you're looking at which number, 392?
That's 30
Miscellaneous.
miscellaneous.
Okay.
392.5 is the line number, and it
Okay.
says 36,247. What revenue? What's the,
Okay, so that is other revenue, and a good chunk of that, so the budget was 72,862. The revenue from October 1 through February 29th, being a leap year, was 109,109. And then that means we actually have an excess revenue of 36,247 over budget at that point in time. And some of that, it's attributed to multiple things, like some of it could be salvage or surplus. That's for the whole year, that's cumulative, but some of it's also the workshop revenues.
but wouldn't that have been accounted in workshop revenue above?
Oh, okay, you're right. I have to go back.
If you don't
and
have
break-
an answer, just
I don't have an
follow,
answer.
just let me know by email.
But it's a good thing because it's revenue and it's more than we budgeted in revenue. It's not like we overspent. We got more revenue than we anticipated, so that's actually a good thing.
No, I know it's a good thing, but it would be nice to know what it is.
Yeah, I'll have to go back there, drill down. and-
Why it's,
Why is it
Yeah,
a good thing?
Yeah, I'll go back and I can drill down and find out what that number breaks down to.
Okay. And then the next fund for reporting is gonna be on page 7 of that report.
Okay,
If you go down to 945, the SIP building equipment, 92,000.
okay.
You were overspent by 92,418.
Okay, that's it, building. And that's category 9, what's the number again?
It's 945.110,
Okay,
under land and facility.
okay,
Because it looks like we're underspent, but on that category, we're overspent quite a bit.
945.11,
Yeah, it says SIP building, equipment, building 1,000. It looks like we had no budget for it, but we spent 92,418 so far.
let me-
Do you want me to show you?
yeah, sure, I can walk up there, I apologize.
right here.
Okay. Oh, it's on page 6, okay, I was looking at
I'm
7.
sorry.
Okay.
6 of 7, I said.
Okay, all the SIT budget is all of those numbers. When you go to 940, right, if you go right above that a little bit, you've got 945.005, and then we broke it down further, and as long as we keep it in the 945.005, we're staying within the whole SIT budget. Why that line is off by one,
So what was that for? What was 92,000? What did we pay for? It's because
well,
the other
that's-
ones are broken out.
that's cumulative from October 1. That's a culmination of a lot of different things that we spent for the SIT building and/or displays. It's not broken out, but I mean, that's SIT related. That's all I can tell
Can
you.
you do me a favor and just give me an accounting of that?
Yeah, sure. Let me highlight it. Actually, what I'll do is after the meeting, I'll walk, if you're here for a few minutes, I'll walk down and drill down and give you the detail of what that number breaks down to.
And then I have one last one, and then I can let you go free.
Sure.
On page 7, and it's 950.17. And it says DC IV probes for Ames machine, 24,010 overspend, but obviously there was no budget, so.
That one should actually go to the one above it. We have so many purchase orders flying through here with different numbers that should have probably been 950.01, which is the one right above it for the 26,500. That should have lined up with that.
So you're saying that the budget for that was on the line above?
Should
and
be,
then-
as far
And then it
as-
should be actually underspend, not overspend?
Yes, ma'am, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, can you just confirm it?
Yep, okay, so I've highlighted that, and I'm gonna walk over, and a lot of times we do is we go back through things. And I do want to give A. McKinney here a lot of credit. She actually is keeping, there's so many things as far as expenditures, keeping track of all this, and all the purchase orders, and the wires, and the different ways we pay things. I don't think I'd be able to work here if I didn't have her backing me up and doing a lot of this stuff, so I think she's the unsung hero here.
So that's a good question. From a staffing perspective, where are you? I mean, are you like swamped?
I mean, we're keeping up with it. If I didn't have her, I would be gone.
Well, keeping up with it, I'm saying, how many hours are you guys here? Like,
I mean,
honestly?
I'm actually lucky that I'm able to keep it to about 40-some hours a week, where it's been worse than that in the past, because I have help. If I didn't have her, no, I'd be here probably just like Richard, 60 hours.
And this is just my statement, and I'll let Gail take over. The reason I'm concerned about the overspending on the museum is because I think our staff needs support. I see the stress, and I'm not seeing any proposals on how to help on the staff side, on the operations side. And that's a concern for me, because that's our core stuff that we do. And the more we spend our focus on that side,
Yeah.
we're losing focus on the people. So that's my 2 cents.
I do not disagree.
Would interns, accounting interns, be good or not because they're in school still?
Yeah, we still hiring seasonal employee intern. This year we have 18 or 20 intern, okay? How many seasonal interview already?
So far with the seasonals, we've only had 3.
Are they spread evenly across the operations, or are they?
So we're in the process of interviewing seasonals at the moment. We've had 5 previously until the other day applications. We only posted it on our website. We added it to additional sites, and within that time period, we've already had 23. So we've scheduled another almost 8 today. But we had 5 or 6 scheduled previously, of which the majority have been no-shows. So we've only had 3 interviews of those. If we have to,
Yeah,
they'll,
very good report this year. more.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about administration. I don't see anything.
If I could be honest with you, because you mentioned the understaffing, the one thing I think with this place is Heather does a great job, but we need continuously somebody answering those phones at the front. So if she's somewhere else
That's
doing
one of the things we're gonna be
something,
measured on.
and that's where, I mean, different staff is up there, we're checking in UPS packages, we're buzzing trucks in. It's really distracting. You can't focus on anything. So having continuously, if Heather's doing something else, which she's doing great work, or she can't make it, or she's sick and she has the right to be sick or take a vacation, then we should have somebody that fills in, like a little old lady would do it for $10 an hour. I don't mean to say it like that, or a retired person is what I meant to say. A retired person.
Don't be
Get up
ageist.
there and would gladly love to answer the phones, and
Yeah, we have a
it's a
position.
burden.
We have seasonal position, 6 months.
I mean,
For reception.
Dr. Shu, I understand the seasonal positions and the temporary positions, but we need to start doing a plan. This county has doubled in the last 5 years. We have more areas, and we're gonna start getting measured on metrics. We can't have people that are constantly changing in and out. We need some, predictability in customer service. You're never gonna go out sick, Heather. And the county has to be able to handle all the stuff that we're building and account for it properly. You know, we're proposing another building and another project, and we don't have any more people to catch up. So I'm saying that this team needs to figure out, either develop a budget workshop, which other boards do, and see what's needed. But this seasonal and temporary stuff only gets you so far.
Mr. Hannah?
We already have a budget workshop in May, and the labor started, everything, we can budget for October for next year full-time. We budget 35 full-time from 32, increase 3, 2 cover for SAG, 1 cover for education. Also, we need more the promoting from a seasonal employee and from intern student.
Sure.
They like the job, and we like their teamwork. And so far, we have not lost anyone so far since last year moved new facility. So only except retired people, raised only 1 or 2 left. Quit, yeah. So quit to be moved to others.
Is there anything else, Mr. Hannah?
I didn't know if you wanted me to narrate the
Budget.
usual financial statements, or if you had any more questions, or,
Not till we get down.
I think it's
Go
all
ahead.
pretty
Commissioner Becker,
straightforward.
do you have a comment?
I'd like to make a motion to accept our amended budget to send to the state.
Great.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, what was the motion?
To
Budget amendment.
accept our
amendment.
budget amendment, yes.
Thank you.
And I seconded.
Thank
Do
you,
we have-
Sat.
Yes.
Yes,
Commissioner Brandhorst? Are you still? All right.
yes.
Unanimous. All right, Dr. Pepper, it's finally your turn.
Gonna fall asleep now. Lights are down.
Warm up, I guess.
That clock keeps
There
a
we
good
go.
time.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on the arbovirus surveillance program. I know not all of you were here a couple years ago when I gave my last update. So for arbovirus surveillance, it's an important component to any effective vector control program. There are often a lot of tools that can be used for arbovirus surveillance. In Florida, one of the main ones is the Sentinel Chicken program, which we have. And mosquito pool testing is another one. Looking at human disease cases is also an important aspect of it.
And so having that cooperation with Department of Health is important. Our program, that's what I hit, focuses on the first 2 sentinel chickens and mosquito pool testing. So starting with the sentinel chicken program, so this is a way to look at exposure of a pathogen in an area. So chickens are able to develop antibodies to specific pathogens. So we're able to look for specific diseases in an area, such as West Nile virus. Chickens are considered a dead-end host, so they don't play any part in maintaining the virus, so they're considered safe for a community. So for years, we've sent our chicken samples to the state for testing. But if you remember back in 2020, with COVID hit, the state had to shift all their resources to
We were very lucky to have you.
yeah, and so, right after I started, we were able to develop the in-house testing, and but obviously there's some pros and cons to in-house testing. Some of the cons, obviously, there's associated costs. Right now we're currently only able to look at West Nile virus, while the state's able to look at several other pathogens. And then it's not really a con; it's just more of a hassle, I guess. But to get some of the kits we use for testing requires some additional permits that we need with the USDA and FedEx. Now the pros, which in my humble opinion, I feel drastically outweigh the cons. We have a much faster turnaround for the results, which is very beneficial to the operational aspect of the mosquito control. So, for instance, when we bleed our chickens on Monday, we get results through the in-house testing Monday night before I go home. When we ship them off to the state, which we still do because I aliquot out the samples and because they're able to look for other pathogens as well. Luckily, the one we are able to look for, West Nile virus, is the main issue in our area. But the state results can often take 5+ days. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks before we've actually gotten results. And again, when you look at it operationally, it's pretty much pointless at that point. And then if you look at confirmation, so they do 2-step testing, preliminary results, and then confirmation, and that's taken a month or longer before. And the kit we use is very reliable and very accurate. I've done several studies on that, and we've collaborated with Lee County looking at this kit. As an example, so this was a chicken back from the first year, 2020. You can kind of look at this chart here. So where's my thingy here? So in the yellow, so each of these dots is a week of testing, and the yellow, those results were negative. And then was that September 8th, it first tested positive in-house for us. However, the state, it took 5-6 weeks before they actually came back positive from them. And then because it was, we were just implementing this test, we wanted to keep testing until the state was satisfied. And their results kind of kept bouncing back and forth between positive and negative. Meanwhile, the kit we were using in-house was positive the entire time.
Dr. Pepper, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it prevent us from doing any treatment, even if we send it to the state? So like, if we detect, can we treat even though the state hasn't gotten?
Yeah, so that's just the in-house policy
Okay.
whether or not we treat based off of what we find or what. Different districts do it differently. Some wait for that confirmation from the state, which if you're waiting for the confirmation, I mean.
Too long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I know like Lee County, they do in-house testing as well, and I'm pretty sure they treat based off of their in-house results. And so for this bird, we didn't get a confirmation of it being positive until December 11th, and so that's actually off the graph here. And so when I first saw that, I was like, we got to figure something out. So I started playing around with some of our samples and some of the assays I have. And I wanted to look at see if we could confirm any of our samples in-house to kind of cut down that time. And with this bird, luckily, I was able to, testing, my log samples, we were able to confirm the bird the week before it tested serologically positive, which makes sense. You expect to be able to find the pathogen, and then the bird develops the immune response where you can detect it. And so that was great. And so we dove into the next few years, kind of looking at this again. The results weren't as great as I was hoping, but we were still able to find in-house confirmation of our sentinel samples. And yes, ma'am.
Where it says undetermined, does that mean that the health department couldn't figure out if it was negative or positive,
Right.
but you were able to figure it out?
So right, if it says, so all of our positives are on the -1 week, so that means the week before it tested positive through the serology or the ELISA kit, we were able to detect it with the PCR assay that I was running. So yes, we were able to get a positive, confirm it positive, but whatever the assays that the state was using, they never were able to get a positive.
Do you know what they're using?
Yes, they kind of have, depending on how their assays test positive, it's typically a plaque reduction neutralization assay that they use for confirmation, for at least for
You know
West
what that
Nile
is,
virus.
No, I do. That's why I asked him.
Okay.
Huh?
I said I do know what that is, so that's why I
Oh, okay,
asked him.
perfect, yeah.
But is there any way that we can influence what they're using instead?
I mean,
Or are they too stubborn?
So I've been in communication with the state, and actually, which I'll talk about here in a minute. I'm actually they have a CDC fellow right now working with them, and he actually saw, I can't remember, it was a presentation or something I gave on this, and he actually started working on it with some of the samples that they're getting, and so we're kind of in communication right now, trying to see if we can get this PCR aspect to work so that they can get, sooner results. And so it is something that we are working on.
Is it because they're so backlogged? If they're like
It's just-
doing the whole state?
No, it's not so much that, well, I'm sure that could play a role in it, but some of
I know
those,
before it was COVID, but I mean.
yeah, some of those assays though just take a lot longer based off of, having to, grow cells and incubate and stuff like that. PCR assay is a lot quicker because you're just, instead of trying to grow just, cells and stuff, we're just looking for presence or absence of it. So, so again, we weren't able to get all of our ELISA positives to be confirmed positive, and perhaps, some of the reasons for that is the viremia within these chickens is only 3 to 5 days typically. And so when we're only drawing blood from a chicken every 7 days, there's, a couple day window where we potentially could miss what we're looking for in that sample. And so, excuse me, this could explain potentially why we had some of those undetected confirmed samples. But again, as I mentioned, I'm working with the state, with the CDC fellow to see the potential of this moving forward.
Is there better technology going forward than the chicken?
Yeah, so.
A human, but.
You want to volunteer?
Well, no.
Yeah.
I told them I wasn't going into the cage yesterday because they like me too much.
Yeah, so it's really weird. So I came from Texas and I'll talk about the mosquito pool testing here in a minute. But mosquito pool no one really uses chickens there. And we get positive pools all the time. Like I would get multiple positive pools from a trap in 1 week. And here, like we got 3 all last year. And so it's something different about, Florida, a higher quantity of mosquitoes or something might be diluting, the sample. And so we're working with colleagues to try to come up with different options. But as of right now, the chickens are our most telling tool. But yeah, there are downsides to it. Cost, the upkeep of the chickens, the potential hazard of, employees out there working with needles, sticking chickens and stuff like that. So there are definitely downsides to the chicken program. But right now, it is our best asset when it comes to the arbovirus aspect of our program. And speaking of that, we've been working really hard to try to improve the chicken program. The conditions for not only for the chickens but for the staff. to try to make it more manageable for them, to cut down on some of the hours on upkeep and stuff like that.
What's the average hours that takes to upkeep?
Now, well, so back in the day, it was we would have to clean the chicken house three times a week, and it would take several hours for 2 staff members. But now that we've made some changes in there, we're really just topping off food a couple times a week. So yeah, it's a lot better now. The man hours are down quite a bit.
They always
Oh,
had
the-
it
on
every
the-
month
so
on
that-
this,
okay, okay.
the chicken program. So it was 68 hours over 12 different timesheets, so 12 different people.
Okay, so it's just divided by.
So moving on to the mosquito pool testing, one of the most common techniques used is PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, is a way to actually detect the pathogen instead of the exposure of the pathogen, as I mentioned with the chickens. And so once I got here, we were able to establish using a real-time PCR machine, which is a lot quicker than the traditional aspect. And again, it's beneficial to the operational control aspect of the program. Again, it's more sensitive and reliable, and is able to capture more false negatives. So it's been a great asset for us to have this machine. So currently we're able to run, for looking at our mosquito pools, I run a triplex where we look for West Nile virus, St. Louis encephalitis virus, and Eastern equine encephalitis. And then we're able to easily test for additional pathogens if needed. Haven't been able to get a protocol yet in place for malaria in case it ever comes up our way. People are being a little
Again, you mean?
hesitant with that, so yeah, I don't know. But I'm working on trying to have things in place in case we ever get like dengue cases or chikungunya, anything like that, we'll be able to respond. So again, kind of looking at some of the results. 2023, I was able to get all the pools finished for that, and like I said, with the number of pools that were tested, we only had 3 positives, compared to we had over 60 or 70, over 60 with West Nile virus positive chickens. And so again, you can see that comparison there of the benefit of the chicken compared to just focusing on mosquito pools. Yes, ma'am.
The pools that you're testing, are you referring to the technicians dipping to see if there's anything, or these are specific
So these are
things you have set up around the county?
So we're testing adults, and so yeah, they're traps we have set up across the county. Specifically for the arbovirus program, we have traps set up at each of the chicken sites. And then the last couple of years, because we've, as you can see, have been getting very few pools, I've been trying to increase our sampling, and so we've been taking the mosquitoes from the operation traps as well and trying to test those. And so one of the things I'm trying to do, as I noted here, I'm backlogged on some of these pools. I'm trying to test all the mosquitoes to kind of get a better idea of what's going on in our county for like the first 4 years that I've been here, to then try to determine whether or not it's worth keeping the mosquito pool testing around versus the sentinel chicken and whatnot. And so I'm trying to
Well,
get
that means that's 1,541 things you guys checked for the pool testing.
Yes.
That seems like
Yeah, that would
a
ground
crazy
up.
amount.
It was busy here. Yeah, it was busy. And then, so another project that we started last year was, back when Tomomi was an intern, we started looking at dog heartworm in the area, though it's not necessarily a human disease per se. It definitely affects, the loved ones of the people in our county. And so this was a project we started, and we finished the completion of it, but it's still ongoing.
Yeah, you have 3,300 on
Yeah,
to
where's
be
it
test.
at? Yeah, and so that's a lot of. We probably won't end up testing all those, but that's just what we have collected from that year, and so we're going through it piece by piece and kind of pulling out the different species, because we're trying to get an idea of which species and locations are of risk for us in our county. And so once we are able to kind of narrow down some of those species, we'll be able to pull out some of those pools that we probably won't need to test.
So what's the impediment for you to get to the 3390? Like the ones
To get
you
all
still
those
need?
tested?
Yeah, just be honest. Just
mean,
like
it's
is it
just-
bandwidth? Is it?
It's just man hours to get it all ground up and,
A lot of testing.
huh?
I said it's a lot of testing.
Yeah, it's a lot, that's a lot of testing.
Okay.
And so mainly
need
doing the
bodies.
extractions
You
and lab work is, yeah, man hours in the lab.
How easy is it to find your folks, the type of people that you need?
I mean, I feel like I have, toot my own horn, but I feel like I have some pretty good protocols in place. Like, I mean,
Okay.
some of the high school interns that we get from Ponte Vedra
Okay.
are phenomenal.
Okay.
Like, they could help out with that. Like, once they're able to follow, if you can follow protocol with
Right.
some guidance at first, you could handle it probably. So,
You
yeah.
got it handled. You got it handled.
Yeah.
Is that what you're set? You got it covered. Is that what
Yeah, I
you're
mean, we'll
saying?
get there. So this one isn't, because it was kind of like a side project and not our main focus for disease, like human disease. We are kind of pushing it on the back burner, just because we want to focus on the human disease side of things. And so as we get time, we'll continue to go through and keep chugging along on it. So then the future direction, as we mentioned, we are trying to look at different ways to replace the chickens because of the negatives of it. We currently have a project funded through FDACS with Vero Beach, trying to look at potential ways or new sample collection ways that we might be able to use to replace chickens. We just got a grant submitted with a professor down at UCF. Also looking at a new technology to replace chickens, so we'll see if that one gets funded.
Would that be FDAC as well?
That one, yes, yes. Yeah, that would be FDACS as well. And then, again, continue to work with the state on potential PCR confirmation for the chicken samples. And over the past few years, I've been able to work with a lot of districts actually around the state to try to help them build up their lab capabilities. A lot of people now are trying to move into being able to do this stuff in-house, and so I've been able to share with them, what we've learned and what we've been able to do here. I actually teach a DOD course the past couple years of how to, design a lab and how to do the in-house testing and whatnot. And that's been pretty successful. Had a lot of the classes filled up both years. And then again, just trying to continue to work on improving the Sentinel program in the meantime for the chickens, because if we don't have healthy chickens, it's kind of a waste of time. So we want to make sure that and just to be good stewards of the birds, that we're using, but then also just to improve it for the staff as much as we can as well. And the budgetary needs. So yeah.
Important thing.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to. It can change year to year. The number I've been using is about $46,000 a year. It kind of breaks down the chicken program, $22,000. We are working on adding a couple new sites this year. Just again because of how much the county is expanding. We're trying to get better coverage of that, and so we're working to expand there.
Where are you going? I mean, where's the proposed expansion to?
So we have one up in like the Mirabella area, and then out, Fruit Cove? I think it's Fruit Cove, the west area.
Off 13?
Huh?
Off 13? Like Silverleaf
It's a
up
fire
there?
station out there, yeah. Eddie's been working on getting the locations finalized and stuff. But those are the two main new ones, and then a couple down south. And we're trying to replace some as well for taking some out of rotation that just really aren't worth it right now. So yeah, hopefully by the time we have everything up and running, we'll have 11 this year.
Is this any of this FTEs or just
Full-time employees?
full-time?
Yeah,
sorry.
so we have at least two dedicated full-time staff to assist with the chicken program, but they wear many different hats as well.
Do you need any I'm just asking, the 46,000 doesn't include bodies, right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
Are
no,
you
that's
guys-
not.
Do you guys need
salary or
bodies?
anything.
I'm just asking.
I mean,
right?
I'll always take, yeah.
I know you always take, but are you in need of bodies? That's my question. Are you in?
I would say yes.
Okay. Can you add that to your little budgetary needs?
All right, yep, I can do that. And then, so mosquito surveillance, mosquito pool, 14,000. Luckily, we haven't been able to spend that, had to spend all of that. I was actually able to, because of COVID, my old advisor at Texas Tech, they do human surveillance. And so once their kits expired, they can't use it for human diagnostics. And so we were able to get like $45,000 worth of kits from them for free. We just had to pay for shipping. And so that's helped save a lot of costs there. And then we do have, the general lab consumables equipment that you have to have for a lab. With that, obviously, I want to thank you guys. You've all been very supportive of the program, since I've been here. All the AMCD staff, and then there have been a lot of people throughout the country and the state that have been a huge help, as we've built up the arbovirus surveillance program. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Dr.
Done a great job. Thank you.
Question? All right.
Dr. Shu.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we started, we did some study about the cost of living. We need the information for synergy for budget purpose. And it, current cost of living, actually, every day I watch news, seems over 3.8%. My recommendation is 4% of cost of living for budget purpose.
4%?
4%.
Okay.
Yeah, I can set up, you have the number of percentage scale and we can work on for the budget. But now the cost is a major cost of our budget.
Is this something we need to vote on?
It informs the budget.
What,
Who has questions, comments?
well, my comment is, there's certain things that are not included in the COLA calculation. And if you've heard latest reports, some companies are actually passing out 5% because with a 4%, you're still negative. So my question is, did we benchmark that 4% besides benchmarking against the COLA? Have we benchmarked that against any employers in the region to see what the average COLA increase is?
If you look at the page 2, last paragraph, that all aging 3.2% for last 12 months average. And 3.8 is all aging as food energy index. This is the last 12 months. Also, yesterday saw charge 4, last 3.85. It's a national increase in the cost of living. Now the fact that it's not a social security, because 3.2 for social security.
What's the cost of living in Florida? Forget national. Can I ask you for that question? I'm sorry for being direct. It just came out like that. Do we know what the COLA is? What's the cost of living in Florida?
Do you know?
Do we know that number?
I'm sure it's a lot higher.
Yeah, we get harder and harder, yeah.
Scott, can you weigh in on that?
Do you have that
Well,
number?
a box of cereal now is
I
$8.
know. Oh, yeah.
$8 for Cheerios?
There's not one, we use the Department of Labor, that's pretty much the standard. They do have one that's, I think, the Northeast region, but they always do it throughout the country because a lot of the goods and services are getting nationalized when you have places like Amazon delivering things all over the country at the same price. The Department of Labor measure has always been the most consistent. There's not a Florida CPU or CPI index. Not that I've
Except
ever
that the
found.
Department of Labor basically seasonalized out 2.5 million full-time jobs in January, so I'm not sure if that number is that
I can.
credible.
I mean, we've always used the Department of Labor. I've always thought that's the most accurate. And Social Security, I think they're doing 3 point something based on this.
Would it kill our budget to go to 5%?
What? No.
Would it kill our budget to go to 5%?
No, it would not kill our budget. No, it'd be reasonable.
Can I recommend that we raise it to 5 from 4?
Yeah, you got motion.
You can
Can
make
I
a
make a
motion.
motion?
Of
What was
course.
your motion to raise
To
it?
up to
5.
5%, the COLA?
Yeah,
I'll second that.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Commissioner Brandhorst, do you want to vote?
Yes, I'm voting yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. We go
Thank
to
you very
5%.
much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we're back to the sit.
Okay, the SID should be a quick dialogue.
It should, yes.
I just need to, okay, so we built the SID building. We didn't put a cold room in.
Well, I don't think we knew we needed one at that
Well,
point. did
yeah,
we?
and so, of course, you know me and my little nosy,
Yes, we do.
okay? So I went and did research, and SID buildings have had cold rooms since 2020, so why wouldn't we have had that in the plans? I just want to make sure that 144,000 is going to be it. So I'm trying to understand
Who
why
wants,
all
who
of a
wants
sudden
to
we
talk
have
about this?
realization we needed a cold room. And if you can answer this thing, why now? And then if we said for, not that we're going to say no, but if this board said no to 144,000, what would be the workaround? Like, you couldn't function at all in that SID build, that's, so like.
All I can talk to is
140,
the process. Whitney will have to talk to the science, but from what I understand, the way that they're handling the immature or adult mosquitoes has changed since we had the concept and the design and through the build. Yeah, it would have been great if we'd known ahead of time that we needed a cold room. It really would have made a big difference. And we did look inside the building to see if there was any place we could put a cold room, as opposed to having to do it on the outside of the building, because again, that would have been much more convenient, easier, and all that. But we built the facility to do what it's got to do, and there really isn't room inside. So we had to go with some options. And really, the only ones that made sense are to put it on the, I guess that would be the west side of the building, where the little cages, the 600 screen room is. And we looked at 3 different options. One was to build a block alcove with the cold room off to the side. A smaller version of a block alcove with a room off to the side, or leave the double doors right where they are and build a cold room kind of to the north of the double doors. And so that's what we went with. Any way we would have done it, we would have used a prefab room. You buy the cold room and then you build kind of around it and put the whatever type of covering is on it, like a metal roof, metal sides, cut the hole in the wall, put the door in. So, yes.
Are you talking about like when you walk through the door and then you have to wait for the other door?
Have you
The
ever
back.
seen a
It's on
walk-in?
The very
it's on
back.
this side, the
Have you
back.
ever seen a walk-in cooler in a restaurant?
No,
Yeah.
she's
That's
asking where
what
it
this
is.
is.
Well, she's asking
where
the
it is.
location.
The location she's asking about.
The
I thought you
location,
meant in between
if
the
you're
two
facing the double
doors. That's what I was
doors,
like, wait.
if you're facing the double doors from the inside, it is to the right of the doors.
But it's the back doors by the screen enclosure.
Like if you're looking in the room all the way at the
So
end.
the sidewalk would actually go behind the room and then come to the double doors, so we wouldn't impact the double doors. The other version was to build an alcove where the double doors are, put the room to the south, but then you would have had to bring your big machinery into an alcove, turn it, and come on in. So in the long run, we thought that maybe it would be better to be able to get stuff straight in the door, plus the third version that we came to was the least expensive. The other two were more in the 1 to 80 range than the 140 range because of the extra room.
So maybe this
So
question
that
for you,
speaks to
Whitney.
the
So-
building, now is to the science.
So the
center.
science here,
Yeah.
so if we didn't have this cold room, we couldn't do anything, or?
So let me start with why. So a couple of things. As Richard mentioned, SIT programs are moving from the pupil stage to the adult stage because there gives you a longer window of time to do the radiation process and still be efficacious with that. And so throughout that, when they've been working those protocols and those SOPs, so we're talking like from the International Atomic Association, Energy Association. With that being said, because we're working with adults instead of pupae, you have to knock them down in order to get them tightly compacted into the canisters for irradiation. With pupae, it's much easier because you can remove the water and they do fine, and you don't have to knock them down, right? But the adults, in order to get them in the
Could you
canisters,
define knock them down, just so anybody listening knows?
knock them
We know what
down
it
means that they need to be immobilized
That makes them
so that they cannot move while they're going. Because you're thinking you're compressing thousands of adult mosquitoes into one canister, and we have 6 canisters in our unit, our X-ray irradiation. So you have to have a cold room in order to do it. It's just the most efficient way. Lee County right now, they're putting in to build a cold room as well for their SIT program, and they're the ones who've kind of pioneered those SOPs for the adult irradiation, working with our colleagues, Dan Hahn at UF. So their recommendation was also to do a cold room because it's going to improve the workflow and function. So you're asking how it's going to impact workflow. It's hard to say. If we don't have a cold room, then maybe we just have to go with a pupil irradiation, and that's obviously going to impact our staff and their time when we have to be here. Because again, you're on the mosquito life cycle, you're not on your life cycle. But if you're at the adult life cycle, it's a little bit more streamlined. Because you have a much longer, with pupae, you have like a 72-hour window, right? With adults, you have a longer window. Because they're emerging, you can wait until they're all emerged instead of having to do it in pieces.
So it would cut down on labor costs.
Yes. Also, the cold room could use for knock down mosquito for release cage, field test, anything.
For shipping,
Much easy.
you can use that cold room for shipping?
For shipping, so what you're going to do also, so not only are you using it for the radiation part, you're also using it in the interim before you release them, because you're keeping them kind of knocked down, right, until you go and release them. So it's a multi-purpose room. There's 2 different workflow points that they're going into that cold room. Now, Dr. Hsu shared the article today that you have found. And so that's with a different irradiation process. So that's with gamma irradiation. And they're still knocking the mosquitoes down to get them into the tubes.
Okay, so they still have a cold room? Okay.
Well, I don't know if they have a cold room to knock them down. I didn't read through it. Like with a fine
See how
scale
nerdy
cone,
I am?
but they're knocking them down to get it into the containers. And part of that reason they have the coolant on the gamma ray is because it actually does more damage to the mosquito than the X-ray. And that's why we went with X-ray, right? It's safer. It preserves the fitness of mosquitoes. But if you have programs that already have a gamma ray machine in place, it's very not cost efficient to move.
But she's referring to, I send them a cooling canister article.
Yeah, but it was very interesting because it was very interesting, but I think that the technology doesn't necessarily translate over.
It's not the same technology.
So, but, I think as we've stated that the need for the cold room is for 2 parts of the workflow will help improve, not only reduce the amount of time that we have to spend in there, but also hopefully help us release more viable, fit adults, right? Adult males, because we're having a more streamlined process, not as much handling.
Thank you.
Okay. So, do we have any more questions?
We need a motion, I think.
Yes. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order to add in this cold room for $140,000.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Commissioner
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Told you it was
All right. Dr. Hsu.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, first, thank you for the strong support of workshop. 19th workshop, tracked 274 registration from out of Xinjiang County, and six from other international. So we registration collected $21,000, and the expenditure, after expenditure per fair about $6,000 per fair, yeah. There's a workshop also, our full board member at a different time coming to join the workshop. So thank you for support. The second thing that we host the CDC Hurricane and workshop April 22nd to 25th, actually 2.5 days. So probably around 80 people will come here, use our facility, and show that what we can do during hurricane prepare. Also, we cooperation with UC, our next door, to teaching what's going on and different station, how to set up trap, how to ID mosquito, and this kind of stuff. Other things, our surveillance program, everything's ready. We all started from later April, next couple of weeks. So the other thing, we started hiring seasonal employee. We hired almost 8 additional intern students. They all started May, later April and May. So we prepare for mandatory training first week, second week. So that's every season start. Also, we welcome one Dr. Kobong. He's in Malaysia. He got a PhD from Malaysia. Now he's a professor at Taiwan Taichung University. And he will be spending 3 months with us as a visitor scientist, doing some intoxicating prison mosquito, how our supply ATSB affect that prison mosquito. There's so far no any literature, nobody doing this. When we go into the cemetery, going to vegetation treaty, so they all some kind of deal with this. People also ask about how affect intoxicating, because the male, female, they don't sucking blood, the pollination, or larvae is predicted as a mosquito. In our education center, we have the colony for demonstration. As people very welcoming. Other things that we prepare in May 13 to May 16, and the DC legislation meeting. So we have 3 commissioners sign in, and Mr. Weaver represent Florida Mosquito Control Association, also AMC funding, partially funding for scholarship fund cover his partial cost. And me, and we have 5 people to join there. So I try to make appointment May 16 with the Water Reader Institute, and there's in the world #1 collection mosquito. As you can see, the mosquito, we're doing mosquito for living, so you see that display American education. But I need to request cleanse secure the military. Work on, and I will let you know what kind of documentation you need later. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Meyer.
3 things. I'm still waiting on your sunshine manuals. We got a report last week that they're stuck. There's a problem with the printer. So I can send you a link immediately if you need it online, but I'm still waiting to get the physical copies to deliver to you. Little housekeeping for me. Our firm has been migrating to a new accounting software. And so you are going to be receiving 2 bills back to back from me. I apologize for that, but I have warned staff so that when that comes. And also just to tell on myself, I noticed in reading through your policies that you have a limitation of the attorney of 1 hour of working on items that are brought to me to review. And I am spending more time than that to respond, to get familiar with Wayne's files, and to get familiar with your own documents. So just, I wanted to let you know that full disclosure.
So do we need to update the policy?
I don't know. I think if you'll just give me some grace
Yes,
for the first
start
couple
it,
of months, as I get familiar with all of your policies and some of the history of some of the projects I'm being asked to look into. I don't know that a policy change is warranted yet, but if you'll just give me some grace for these first 6 months, I'd appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner
I
LeBlanc?
want to thank the staff, as always. I think you all do an amazing job. I am so, I've been a big supporter of the Education Center, and there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that facility. And I want to thank Richard again for all the hours he put into it, and everyone else that put the hours into that. This is going to greatly impact people's understanding of what goes on. It's only going to, education is so underrated. I think it's important that people learn what we do.
Thank you. Commissioner Brandhorst, do you have any comments?
I want to thank the board for letting me attend over the phone.
You're very welcome. I don't have any comments.
No comments?
Commissioner Gleason? Commissioner Becker?
We had a great turnout at the arbovirus workshop. It was amazing. Every year, we just keep getting more and more people. When I first started, it was like 150 people that came to the workshop, and now we're talking 300-400 people. It says that we're doing some pretty good work here. I was really impressed that, let me read it. Dr. Florence, she flew in from the World Health Organization, and wow, she was really impressive to talk to. And so she wants to keep tabs on, what we're doing, and maybe she'll come back again and bring other people. And that could be great for grants. The speech on the opening too by Dr. Sutherland, he's from the Navy Entomology Center. I think everyone was really taken aback because a lot of times people don't speak about the effects that mosquitoes have on war. And we know that war is decided by who can outlive mosquitoes, but a lot of people don't know that. So it was really interesting to hear from his perspective, from a soldier that's traveled all over the world. That was really awesome. And then I don't know if it was that day or the day after, but we had Jessica Clark come from First Coast News. She was here a little bit over 2 hours, but the news segment was like a minute, so, but it was amazing. I came every day of that week, and I cried a number of times because it was really great. So that was the first time I'd seen a large group of students in there at one time. I've seen students, here and there, maybe 5, but I'm talking, it was a lot of students. And I kept walking around and asking them, like, what's a word you would, what do you think? What's a word you would describe? Blah, blah, blah. And every kid said fun.
Cool.
That's the first thing, and usually when you're talking about science and deadly mosquito diseases from, that's fun's not the first word people think of. It's really been a tremendous positive outflow of people that have come here and looked through it and walked through. And so I'm really proud of that and the district and all the hard work everyone's doing. And I even held the hissing cockroaches reluctantly. And I even said, we saw hissing cockroaches at the Gainesville Plant and Wildlife. And she said, oh no, I grew those there. So they've migrated over. So everybody's doing a great job. So thank you. And one last thing, I saw the email. I don't think you meant it in the way that I read it, but it seemed very threatening.
What email?
that was about, that you were gonna report Dr. Shu in the district to Officer Simpson?
I said I need a full accounting of where this money has gone. I haven't gotten answers, and if I can't get answers from the district, the only other place I have legally and as a responsible officer of this board to do is to go up to the district. That's not a threat. That is actually our responsibility. So if you want to consider that a threat, I'm sorry. But unless I have answers, I have to feel I'm doing a job for the taxpayers. You're doing a job for the taxpayers. We're supposed to be making sure that we're spending money properly. And I haven't gotten any answers that said, this board said, you can go spend, no questions asked, no, you don't have any need to come back to this board for any approval. There's nothing that anybody has shown me, and I talked to Amy about this before this meeting. So if that's a threat, then I'm sorry, but I am, under the law, allowed to do that. That is not a threat. That is, I need answers.
Okay, and it's
So I
all
apologize.
about the education center?
We are at 4.5. If you look, if anybody really read their notes behind the question of changing the name of the museum, we started at 1.5 million as a budget. We are at 4.5. So you tell me how we got from 1.5 to 4.5, and in 1 year, this past fiscal year, we have gone over budget $666,000. I know that I've been on this board, I've never seen anybody come forward and say, hey, we're about to spend X, Y, Z on this kind of project. So if somebody is able to show me documentation that this board legitimately said, go forth and spend, no worries, then, I have to live by that.
Nobody is giving free checks.
Well, then, I was
We don't
told
make money and
there are no
we're just shelling
contracts,
it
I was
out.
told there's
So
no RFPs.
let's do this, let's you and Rudy and Richard and Scott
Yeah.
have a meeting and work this out.
I was gonna work that out separately, but she
Okay.
called it out, so.
Well, that's our next step, and,
So I'm glad you
Yes.
did, because now it's
Okay.
on paper.
so that's the next step, and then
But by the way, we all have that, I don't have to ask approval from anybody. We all have
the
individually
right, we
that
have a fiscal
responsibility.
It
responsibility.
just feels like there's
wasn't
a
a
lot of
threat.
It felt
stuff
very-
happening
it felt
that's bad for
personal,
the
that's all.
employees, and that's what I'm concerned.
Wait, time out. If, this is not about killing the core operations, and this is what I really dislike when people conflate issues. Core operations are doing an excellent job. We have a facility that's being built that is 3.5, well, not 3 million now overspent. So I am not talking about core operations. I'm not talking about aerial. I'm not talking about ground. I'm not talking about the labs.
No, I'm talking
I am
about
talking
Scott
about
and
that
Richard
building.
and Dr. Shu,
No.
where every day they have to pull 100 pieces of paper.
No, that is
to
their
show
job.
someone.
I'm
But how
sorry.
are they gonna do their regular job when
It's
all
called-
they're doing is this?
We have to feel comfortable with those numbers, and I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable on how money has been spent.
Well, that's good, that's fine, but you're one person on the board.
Amy,
and
do
you
you
I'm
want
gonna
seven
reg-
years.
I don't have to have permission from the
Excuse
board
me.
for that. Amy?
I'm going to allow Richard to take the floor for a moment, he asked to.
Yeah.
I just gotta say one thing, that every penny that has been spent
Mm-hmm.
has been approved by the board in the budget.
No. A budget
Every
is a budget.
penny that
No,
has been
It's
spent
over
has
budget.
been approved
It's over
by the
budget.
board
It's
in
over
the
budget.
budget.
I'm sorry, it's over budget. Your report said it last month. You're over budget.
I wasn't at
Look, I
4.5
don't-
million either,
hey,
that's an incorrect number.
I think we need to table this because it's not going anywhere.
The meeting is adjourned, if you guys